First and foremost, thank you all for coming today. I want to inform everybody for the last approximately 10 years, OPS has been in contract with our current provider. With that, over the 10 years, our district mission has not changed at all, which is to provide safe and reliable transportation to our students. We do recognize over the last few years there were some challenges, and we recognize those. But as a district, we've done everything to support our current contractor as we went through those challenges. Just to give you some of the examples, we made modifications to our transportation eligibility plan so that we could reduce the number of students that was eligible for transportation. And this allowed the current contractor to be able to hire enough qualified drivers to align with the student need. In addition, we understood customer service is important, so we implemented a call center. This helped our parents be able to get through and have their questions or concerns addressed in a more timely fashion. And then we also took the opportunity to offer our current contractor more financial resources so that it would help them be able to recruit more effectively and be able to increase the driver's salary. Right now, we're at a point that, based on policy and district procedures, we're up for bid. The current contract has expired or will expire this summer, so that puts us in a position of going to the board for a recommendation of approval for a new contract transportation provider.
Do you anticipate, if approved, the new vendor would have more coverage than STA?
You know, that's a great question. One of the things we want to be as transparent as possible with our parents. Just because we have a new vendor, we still will have challenges. The national driver shortage has not changed. It's still a shortage, and therefore we do expect there will be some challenges with this transition due to that shortage. But one of the things that we were impressed with when we were evaluating Zoom Services' proposal is their commitment to recruitment, ongoing throughout the year.
And I know that there's another vendor that you guys signed with a while ago, which you guys keep, is it First Student?
Correct.
Keep that one too?
Yes, it is our intent to keep First Student as well.
What really stands out to you guys about some services that makes you say, hey, you know, this is, we're seriously considering these guys?
Well, there were several things that separated Zoom from the other proposals, but most importantly, their mission aligned with the district's, which is to provide safe and reliable transportation to the students. Their whole proposal centered around students and student safety. They embraced alternative fuel plan and environmental sustainability. And they also had a different standpoint of how they were more engaged with their drivers. For example, I read that they had updated facilities at mostly all their locations throughout the country. But most importantly, when they go out and do specifications for their buses, they do little things such as, in their specs, the bus seats. They make sure that the bus seats have specific back lumbar support. That's critical to a driver. That means a lot to a driver. It lets them know that they respect their job, especially when they're behind the wheel for hours. So it was that, again, the reliable and safe transportation was at the center of it all with students, and that was important to us.
And I saw in the presentation that one of their strategies is to utilize other vehicles, maybe not so much. They use yellow buses, but also utilize other vehicles to kind of add to that. Could parents expect to see their child being picked up in something besides like the typical school bus?
With Zoom Services, families should expect to see the yellow school buses. They plan on providing 100% liquid propane buses for their entire fleet, and they will provide all new buses. But it will be all yellow buses with Zoom Services.
safety. Can you go into specifics about that, about how, when it comes to the focus on students and student safety, how that differs from who you currently use?
Well, sure. They have a very robust training program, and we looked at the curriculum, and it was real specific, not just for regular education. They also offer training for special education students as well. Now, their primary purpose will be to provide services for our general education students, but there is a option if the district opts to in the summer for assistance with special education. And they do special education training. They also train their drivers to be able to interact with the public. That's big in terms of safety, because we have parents or people approach the bus at different times, sometimes with high anxiety, and the way that the driver communicates with those people play a big role in the day-to-day services. They teach their drivers to be welcoming. They understand the concept of being an ambassador for the school district, so that when the student gets on the bus, they know they're the first and last ones that will make an impression on our students. In terms of safety as well, they do ongoing throughout the year training. It's just not at you're onboarded and you get your initial training and it's over with. They do annual and ongoing refresher training throughout the year.
The routes the same for this next school year? I know, like you said, eligibility was changed to help more families. So is that going to be changed?
We do anticipate that the route number will change. Certainly, we have high schools that will be adding grade levels, and because of that, that will change some of the numbers of students that are eligible for transportation. So we can see an increase potentially for this upcoming year in terms of routes.
You named a couple of the challenges earlier that you guys currently face, including with part of student eligibility, which you addressed in that kind of. What are some of the other challenges? Just give us some, for instances, about what you guys face currently with the system.
Well, currently, I think our current provider has did a good job with stabilizing the services. However, again, with the national driver shortage, that remains a challenge, and being able to accommodate that that shortage is a day-to-day trial that we go through. Now, with that specifically, when you have to put more than one route on one bus, that gets problematic as well in terms of communication to the parents, because generally a system can only notify that one route that's on the bus, and if you have multiple routes on one bus, that can be a challenge in terms of the customer service provided back to the parents.
And can you explain how hiring goes from this point? If the vendors approve tomorrow, does the company have to start hiring its entire staff, or does it already have staff ready to work for OPS?
Pending board approval, the next steps would be for us to sit down with the vendor and talk about monthly steps. They have provided us with a timeline, but the hiring process will start almost immediately. The marketing, the advertising out to the community. One of the big things I'm sure they would try to do is to have as many drivers that are currently driving for our current providers, see how many of them that they're able to offer a position to. And I think they'll do a very intense job with going out and recruiting, but that starts almost immediately.
Will the pay be the same?
They all have presented, per their proposal, a different pay for the upcoming year, so there will be an increase in pay based off of what's in place right now.
And you guys have an idea of how much the contract would be for?
No, not at this time, because we have not started all our routing. So a lot of that's based off of how many buses we'll need for next year. So it's too premature to give out a number of what the budget would be for transportation services next year.
Would it be okay to say, I saw on the agenda it said the estimated first-year cost would be around $18 million. Is that still accurate to say?
That number is based off of the sample number of routes for this year. As I said, it will increase next year. So I would say based off of this year's number of routes, it's an accurate number, but next year it will be an increase in routes.
Do you know when you would know that final number? I know you said you'd sit down right away with them. Would it be in the summer or start of school?
Generally, we'll have that number, the number of routes generally in the summer.